2012 was a retelling of the classic tale of Evan Almighty, only this time Morgan Freeman is destroying much more than just a dam. If you thought Emmerich fucked the world over on Independence Day and the day after tomorrow, you'll be in for a treat as we watch 2.5 hours of this man using the planet as his own personal stress ball. Well, more like 1.5 hours because it takes roughly 45 minutes for the world to begin blowing up. 45! I'm not even mad at that. The slow build-up is one of the better things about this movie. It gives us time to get to know these cardboard cutouts of characters, and I actually got pretty engaged in what was going on for a good while. I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this movie. I love the build-up, I love the destruction, I love the pacing. I love the fact that it's banned in North Korea because 2012 is the 100th anniversary of Kim Il-sung's birth. However, I don't love this movie. There's a lot of things that I hate about it, like how the writing in this movie is pretty shit. I wouldn't go as far as to say 2.5 hours of heaving and cleaving and crashing and crunching, but it's no Dial M for Murder now, is it? Take a look at the thumbnail I used for this video. Now take a look at the one I used for the Black Sea video. Do you notice how the Black Sea thumbnail has 3 different characters in it? This one, it's got destruction. And that's it. And that's part of the problem, because if I show you this picture, how many characters would you recognise? Do you see what I'm getting at? When I referred to them as cardboard cutouts, I wasn't mucking around. These characters are so flat you couldn't run them over with a steamroller. Compare Jackson Curtis, bet you didn't know that was his name, with what I'd argue is the quintessential god, Jeff Goldblum. In Independence Day, David Levinson has a lot of little things about him that all come back at the end of the day. Lessons of the Screenplay already covered this, so go watch his videos, they're much better than mine. But his character is summed up here, in the chess scene. Environmentally conscious.
Do you have any idea how long it takes for those cups to decompose?
Gets annoyed at smokers.
Smoking is not healthy.
He's divorced and hasn't gotten over it. He's generally unambitious. I mean, the man who can hack into US satellites and alien motherships is working for a goddamn cable company. The sky's hardly the limit in his eyes. That's a super brief summary of his character. Now let's take a look at Jackson Curtis, and keep in mind that this is everything I could link to his character.
Hey, Kate, I'm practically on the freeway right now. Yes, I'm hurling towards you as we speak.
He's a writer. He drives a limo. For this guy.
Engine start.
He's also divorced, only his marriage apparently went a bit further than Levinson's because he's got 2 annoying kids. Oh, and his kids don't think of him as dad because they call him Jackson and not, well, dad.
Jackson, what is this?
Please don't call me that. I'm your dad.
I would imagine you'd agree with me when I say Levinson's character is much more interesting and much more well performed. Nobody can beat the,
Crime and Netley's. By the beard of Sam Goldwyn.
Of this man. Back on track though, the biggest problem, well, besides the flat characters, is that the threat and the theme don't go together well at all. The theme is literally, don't just let the richest of the rich arseholes live, let the slightly less rich arseholes live too. And when Chit is on the boat at the start of the 3rd act, and he's all like,
what is this? You could fit 10 people in here.
the audience is meant to agree with him. And when I watched the film, I agreed with him too. But the thing is, the only people who can come in now are these ones, the rich people who were going to get on the boat originally, but they just weren't allowed on. And if you can't even keep them from pushing themselves off this ledge which inexplicably has no guardrail, then why do they deserve a place on these boats? What if it was the people who actually worked on the construction of these ships waiting hopefully outside? And no, I'm not counting these 7 or 8 people at the back of the crowd in construction outfits, or maybe a load of poor but genetically fit people. That would resonate far more with the audience when this fat plonkerer realises how much of an arse he's been all this time refusing to let others on the ship. But instead it's just like, well, they're not adding anything else to the human race, and we've only got 15 minutes to get these 4 gargantuan ships out here before humanity literally goes extinct. But fuck it, they took the time to show up, let them on the boat.
Open the gates.
We vote to let these people come in.
In a few moments, we will open the gates.
No! Don't let them on the boat. You need to sail on out of there, mate. Let's not forget that every time a scientist has said something's going to happen at a certain time, it never happens at that time. It always happens earlier. Every single time. So maybe don't put the entire human race on the line for these fucking lemmings, yeah? Do you know what would have been a good theme for this movie? The one that they had on Independence Day, the world coming together. Yeah, it would just be repeating itself, but it fits so well here. Well, I suppose it fits perfectly in every disaster movie, but considering the fact that this is the disasteriest of disaster movies, why not use that theme again? It doesn't have to be exactly like every country working together to fight back the disaster like Independence Day. It could be more like an equality thing. They already kind of did it in the movie, but it's not really explored that much. They just point the camera at Queen Elizabeth and say, she shouldn't get to survive, how come she gets to live but John Cusack doesn't? Okay, so now I've talked for far too long about the ending of this movie. Let's reel it back a bit, right back to here, because I want to talk about this film's screenplay for a minute, because it's so much more bare bones than the movie itself, which is weird because normally it's the other way around. I mean, this bit of chit in the car isn't in the script, this chat about how beautiful What's-Her-Face isn't in the script.
She gets more beautiful every time I see her. Why is that?
The chat on the way to the elevator isn't in the script. If the movie followed the script exactly, it would look like this.
Hey, watch out, watch out!
Ha, cute foreshadowing by the way. It goes to show just how drawn out this movie is, which I don't mind actually. I love these little chit chats and the scene setting that they do. Why does everything need to be as short as possible? Let the movie establish itself. Lav Diaz, director of Norte: The End of History, or as it's known in its own language, that, makes films that are really, really long, and I suppose you could slice Norte into half the length, but why would you want to? It's not like the stuff that you'd be cutting out is bad, or even unfitting or breaking the pace that's been established. The film knows when to speed things up, just like how 2012 knows when to slow things down. So what's the big deal with leaving it in? It adds a bit of context, a bit of character, a bit of charm to the film. What, do you want every film to turn out like The Last Airbender where it just got cut and cut and cut until there was absolutely no character or soul left? I really need to stop talking about movies nobody's ever heard of. Who's going to be watching a 4-hour finished drama anyway? Some of the complaints I've seen about this film is that it doesn't have real science. Motherfucker, am I watching a disaster movie or a minute physics video? They drove a limo through a collapsing building because it's cool. When I watch a film like 2012, I'm not giving it 50 sins because it's not a goddamn documentary. It's called suspension of disbelief. But at the end of the day, this film is bad, but it isn't that bad. It's not Age of Ultron level of awful. If you have family over and they say, you want to watch a film? This is a good one to put on. I mean, who can resist watching a series of supercars being launched out of a crashing airliner? I know I can't. Unless you're the snobbiest of film snobs, you should get a good bit of enjoyment from this flick, and don't get any snobby pillock try to convince you otherwise. It's not perfect, maybe it's not even good, but who cares about that when you've got helicopter elephants in your movie?